But yeah, let's get into that then. Yeah, Vinny did win with Dragapult, and it was the slow Pult, like you mentioned. We already kind of talked about the list. And then second place, Pedro Pertusi. No stranger to top cuts at major tournaments, no strangers to finals. And you know what? I'm going to give a lot of credit to this placement here from Pedro putting Charizard down, because this is one of the things that I kind of critiqued him and William on personally. Now, I don't want to say that Charizard is like the worst thing they could have played at these tournaments. But I am happy to see Pedro and William put the Charizard down and pick up a better deck and stop trying to force that, because they're such good players. I feel like they were holding themselves back in how creative they could be in the format. I mean, Guardy's like nothing crazy, obviously, but like, or how much success they could have by like just kind of forcing Charizard over and over and over when it's just really not been a very good play. So I'm really happy to see him put the Charizard down, pick up a better deck for the metagame for the format, and then we see like the instant success, right? Pedro Petrucci, one of the best players, touted as the best player coming out of COVID in the Latin American region, I feel like, for
Yeah.
a couple years, making his way back to a final here with the Gardevoir. And it's like not even it's not too crazy of a list. It feels like they kind of went back to what people were playing more recently with like the double bravery charm and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Azevedo played the similar list. I guess there's
I
probably
think it's
one
just the
card.
cape. I think instead of two bravery charm, it's one cape, one bravery charm.
Ah, okay. So
I don't
very
know how
similar list.
you.
Oh, no. Azevedo has a Badoo in
Yeah,
here.
but I think I'm pretty sure Petrucci had the Badoo as well,
Did he
unless I'm
have it?
trolling.
Did I miss it? No, he
Oh,
doesn't.
no, he doesn't get the yeah, so actually a couple differences then. Yeah, has the Pheasantipity actually as well.
Yeah. Little different here on the lists.
Yeah,
They both had the triple monkey door, though. Both had the unfair stamp as the ace
yeah.
spec of choice. This was honestly a pretty stacked top cut, I would say, right? Vinny, Pedro, Giovanni Sasso, who's like the rookie of the year for sure, I would say. Um, and yeah,
I
tons of
think,
other great players in here as well. Marcos Fuentes,
Juan, I think I
Joao.
played against Juan maybe once or twice now. Juan, his name is always in at these Latin American regionals, he's always in, like, contention for top cut, I feel like, or in top cut.
Yeah.
Unless it's a different Juan, but I'm pretty sure Andrew is the right one. But yeah, Dragapult, I think I was gonna shout Francisco there, third place. Dragapult Dustnor still showed up in cut here. Um, and I think the biggest surprise in top cut for this tournament, and we'll look at the Vancouver cut specifically in a little bit, was the Turbo Moons. A Turbo Moon at each tournament made top cut. And they were both catcher builds. One was how do you say that? Joel? Just Joel, right? Yeah. One was Joel here with this build, and then we saw LeBoy make top eight over Vancouver, and we'll go take a look at this list in a little bit. Both playing Turbo Moon with catchers, which is a deck that didn't even wasn't even on my radar. I wasn't even thinking about it as like a bad deck that someone could play at a tournament. And I don't even know if it is bad or good. I talked to LeBoy a little bit in Vancouver, and he tells me he's like he was pretty confident in the deck, and he thinks like even the Dragapult matchup isn't that bad. Um, but yeah, this was definitely probably the biggest surprise of the weekend was the Turbo Moon showing up out of nowhere, kind of.
Yeah, and the fact that it did it at 2 tournaments for sure is a big part of the surprise there. There's also in this top cut, I think they went down to like 12 players.
Yeah, because Joao was in cut, I think
Yeah,
so.
so at
Yeah,
least 12.
I think it
But
was 8 and
there's
12 for both tournaments. Yeah,
there's a Sarah Ledge in here, so that's a little surprising to see. Another one that I don't think. I mean, it's like it's the type of deck you expect to see around you at a regionals. You might play one, but I don't think it's one that people expect to be a top cut contender really right
nope.
now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the deck is pretty mid to be honest. I'm not. This isn't like that and like that like when I looked at this top cut, I was like Sarah Ledge made cut, Ancient Box made cut, but like that doesn't like change my mind about either of those decks. Turbo Moon, on the other hand, definitely makes me think a little bit. Um, Yeah, I don't think like Sarah Ledger Ancient Box all of a sudden there's anything like new that really shifted up in the meta or anything revolutionary in those lists that like makes them big contenders. But the Turbo Moon, I could see it maybe being better than it was getting credit before, but I'm not really too sold on it yet, to be honest.
We had Marco Cifuentes with the Lost Box.
Yeah.
Looks
This
similar to Grant's build from EUIC. Has Secret Box though as the ace
Yeah, that's what
spec.
I'm say.
Okay.
There is definitely some things that are a little bit different. The secret box, but is like I feel like the big takeaways from like the list that Grant played at UIC was the Jet Energies, the Artisans, and then including Crispin as well. And we see Marco here, double Crispin. But yeah, the secret box is something. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Also, like the lack of Pheasantipity. I feel like Pheasantipity is big for recovery in the Dragapult matchup. But
Discarding 3 cards from your hand with this deck sounds pretty miserable.
I mean, early game is not that bad. Well, it depends when you get hand disrupted.
Yeah.
That's like the big question is when are you getting hand disrupted?
I think Prime Catcher seems a little too strong in this deck, to be honest.
I definitely feel the same as for sure. With Lost Box in general, Prime Catcher is just so insanely strong as a card in the deck, but you get a lot of value out of it, right? In the play, you get your artisan, you get your escape board or the rescue board, which I feel like is the biggest find to be able to establish a rescue board early on, which is kind of
Sure.
cool. You know, if you need a situational supporter for the turn, the Crispin, the Boss, the Roxanne, you grab that, or if just get a Colress, right, and use your Colress for the turn. So I don't hate it, but it's tough to argue that it's better than Prime Catcher for sure. Tough to argue.
And then we've got Austin Charles from the US heading down to this tournament and getting top cut with Terapagos.
Yeah, and this build I feel like is like this build has a lot of the things. It's like if you take the build that people were playing before EUIC and then you take the Ryuki build post EUIC, this build is like a combination of both of those. Has
Yeah.
the Iron Bundle, has the Ursa Luna, but then still has the Monkey Dory and the basic Dark Energy as well. And one of the spaces, one of the areas that Austin found some room was cutting one of those ancient booster capsules. Only two of those in there is like the standout for me as far as the cuts go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it basically feels like kind of like trying to put everything into the Terapagos stack is what we have going on here.
Yeah. Down on one switch card as well, I think. So that's like another
Yeah,
thing. Like a lot of people were just playing two switch card. Ryuki was playing four. And so, finding spaces there too. And
yeah,
then Ancient Box as well in Top Cut here. That's kind of the last unique thing, right?
yeah, and this deck still sucks. This Ancient Box, it somehow got I don't know how it got top cut. They're slacking down in Brazil, letting Ancient Boxes get top cut. What's going on here? Um,
No excuse.
no excuses for Ancient Box ever making top cut.
Dude, I feel like this deck should play one Binding Mochi if you
It's so
play
hard to
with
find,
Hetrons.
and you have so many things that are just gonna discard. The Explorer is it's really hard to take off Explorer. It's really
I
hard to you have
guess.
Pokestops, like, that just needs to be more fluid. Just you want playable cards. Because the deck does struggle in the early game, the initial setup. So you just really need cards that are playable. Um,
Sure. Makes sense. Makes sense.
yeah. So I don't have too much to say on Ancient Box except to hate on it, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. Congrats on the finish to Omar still, of course. Getting asymmetrical cut with Ancient Box, that's like takes like another level of play and like mental fortitude to pull it off. But I'm gonna be a hater for a while. Who knows? Maybe rotation brings something new to Ancient Box as far as the metagame goes.
Speaking of metagame, let's take a look at the most popular decks in day two. And it was Golden Go leading the way in day two.
Yeah.
Um, would it be are the Dragapult variants separated? They're not. So it's like, yeah, Golden Go and Gardevoir
Well,
leading
Gardevoir's
the
tied
pack.
with Dragapult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gardevoir tied with the Dragapult.
Yeah, and yeah, so nothing's too crazy. Like under Golden Go, it's not that crazy, especially when you see how many good players chose to play Gardevoir, right? But yeah, Golden Go being number one is a little bit of a surprise, and I think with it being number one going today too, its end result was kind of disappointing. It was just one in top 16, none in asymmetrical cut. It was Diego
Yeah.
Casiraga, world champ, brought the Golden Go. Apparently, didn't get the memo on the Spiritomb inclusion, which I saw a lot of people including at the Vancouver. So didn't have the Spiritomb in there. I don't know how much it actually affected his run, of course, but we saw a lot of players playing the Spiritomb in Vancouver. But yeah, this is the highest placing. I think that's a little bit of a disappointment for how popular it is in day two, right? The Dragapults got theirs, Guardy got its placements, but yeah, Golden Go
Only
for
two
being
in
the
the
most
top 32.
for being the most popular deck in day two, I feel like that's definitely a disappointment. And it doesn't feel like it had there was a couple claws, but it doesn't feel like there was too much hate for it overall. I guess there was two Iron Thorns, which is like a bad matchup. There's a couple Thorns hanging out, which is historically a pretty bad deck into Dragapult, and I don't think that's changed. So I saw one of the players who actually played Thorns tweet out.
It was Ian.
Yeah, he tweeted, "Haven't played in a while. Decided to just play Thorns, and it went fine." It's basically what his tweet was, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and there is like the new tech, not the new technology I've seen the Thorns players utilize to tackle the Dragon Ball matchup is the double team Devo. So instead of having to 3-hit KO with Dragon Ball, you go punch Devo, and just try and run them out of energy that way. So you do have that going for you. I don't think it's enough still, but it is something.